What's up everyone, it's me Dan here, and today I'm here with my review for Arrow Season 6 Episode 12 entitled All for Nothing. And this obviously continued on from the end of last episode where we found out that Vigilante was working for Team Arrow, and also the fact that Oliver had given in to Cayden James's demands of paying $10 million to a offshore account for Cayden James. And in this episode, Vigilante and Team Arrow, and I guess you could say New Team Arrow as well, all team up together to try and take down Cayden James by using Vigilante to gain access to valuable intel that Cayden James has on his hideout, since they think that that could potentially help them win this battle against him. So they send Vince over there to get the information. It goes well at first, but then eventually the criminal cabal finds out that Vince is a traitor and they kidnap and torture him, and then the two Team Arrows have to join together to rescue him. While at the same time, we also had the flashbacks in this episode with Dinah and Vince from 5 years ago. Now, let's just say that I was looking forward to this episode, only because last episode was a bit uneventful in my opinion. It was definitely a filler episode, a lot of setup. So this episode had a lot to pay off, and it did pay off on most of those things. Some of them will probably get more payoff in next episode. But for now, let's just talk about the positives that I did have with the episode in matter. So the first positives I really have are the flashbacks, because they were actually really good this episode. Now, I was disappointed in one area, which is that I was a bit disappointed they didn't show flashbacks of what happened right after Vince got his powers. I would have liked to have seen those flashbacks. We didn't see them in this episode. The flashbacks that we saw were of him and Dinah in that undercover mission to take down that criminal member, or, you know, the guy that Dinah killed at the end of Season 5, Episode 11, when we first met her. It was the flashbacks of basically them undercover in his gang, and them eventually being found out. And what I liked about them was how they paralleled what was going on in the episode, with the fact that in the flashbacks, they were exposed because of Dinah giving away the fact that she was an undercover, and in the present day, the roles are reversed, because it's Vigilante's fault that he gets exposed as an undercover. So I thought they were very good, and I just liked that relationship building that they did there. I thought it was very, very good. I think I definitely brought into those two more as a couple in this episode. It's just a shame what happened at the end, because it was clearly only done in this episode just to build up emotion. Another positive I had with this episode was Cayden and Black Siren. They obviously continued this Black Siren redemption arc. The segment that they had of Black Siren following Cayden around Star City, I thought was a really interesting thing. And then obviously all culminated in that scene where Cayden knows that Laurel is following him, so he gets her into this building, and then when he traps her in there, he shows her all these images of Earth 1 Laurel as the Black Canary, but also with him and with Sarah. And I thought that was a really good scene. I'll definitely have to say that was probably one of my favourite scenes of the episode. Once again, Katie Cassidy and Paul Blackthorne, great again. I'm really enjoying these scenes between the two of them and just the storyline in general. And I loved the moment as well where you had Black Canary's, you know, mask slash face, you know, projected onto Black Sirens. I thought that was really cool. Maybe a bit of foreshadowing as to what could happen. Only time will tell, but I really did like that scene in the episode. I thought it was very, very good. The fight scenes as well were great in this episode, although I will mention that there were a few moments where I felt there was a bit too much shaky cam. Like, there was one scene in particular that I believe was in a kitchen. It might have been the same set, actually, from episode 2, you know, with the whole scene where Oliver lit the dude on fire. It was in that same area, but the shaky cam was really bad there. The camera was just moving around far too quickly. I couldn't really tell what was happening. I don't know whether that was because the stunt work wasn't that great, or maybe they didn't have enough time to shoot that fight scene. And it did happen a few other times in this episode. I still thought on the whole they were very, very cool and very well done in my opinion. I also appreciated that Anatoly had a bit more to do in this episode. I feel like Anatoly's been a bit of a useless character this season. He's barely had any episodes that really focused on him. The only one I can think of is episode 2. He got a bit more to do in this episode. Not a whole lot, but I do appreciate it nevertheless, because I love David Nichol as an actor, and I like the Anatoly character. I just feel like he's been a bit wasted this season. And just overall, more plot progression. This is exactly the kind of episode I wanted to see last week, where a lot more stuff happens to push these characters' storylines forward and the main storyline forward as well. A lot happened in this episode. You could definitely not say this was filler, because a lot happened. Of course, that was kind of all built up to the end moment. Well, not really the end moment, but near the end of the episode where Vigilante actually died, which was a move that I unfortunately had spoiled for me beforehand. It was leaked on Reddit, I believe 4 days before the episode aired. So I kind of went into this episode hoping it wouldn't happen, but when I saw the scene, you know, setting itself up, I was like, okay, it's going to happen. But it was still very well done, very emotional, definitely. I'll speak more about it when I get into the negatives, because there was one little negative I did have with it, but overall I thought it was very well done, and it was a nice wrap up to Vince's story. Now we get on to the negatives for this episode. I actually don't have that many. I would say overall this was actually a really good episode, probably the strongest episode of this half of the season, but I still did have a few nitpicks with it. The first one being that I felt like Vigilante's death was a bit too predictable, and I don't know whether I'm saying that because I had it leaked for me beforehand, but I just felt in general as I was watching this episode, I kind of got that feeling as if, yeah, he's probably going to die this episode. Like, my suspicions about him dying just grew more confident as the episode went on. I think the main giveaway for it was the flashbacks. I would have preferred to have seen these flashbacks in a different episode, an earlier episode this season, because placing them here just felt too obvious. I mean, it's a common TV trope that whenever you kill off a character, you spend more time with them, or you introduce flashbacks so you grow an emotional attachment to them. It's always been a trope of TV, it's been around for years, but I just felt like maybe they could have done a bit of a better job with that to not make the death feel as obvious as it was. Cayden James, still boring villain, still monotone as fuck. There was one scene in particular where he orders Black Siren to kill Vigilante, which is what happens. Black Siren screams in Vigilante's ear and kills him, and there's this line that he gives to her where he's literally like, "Don't make me doubt your loyalty," but he says it in such a robotic and monotone way that I actually face-palmed when he said the line. Like, I love Michael Emerson, but why is he being given such shit dialogue and has to say it in such a shit manner? Hopefully, next episode will be the last episode of him in it. He will hopefully get killed off, and if he does, I will fist pump in the air and say yes, because I want his character gone. He is such a bad villain. Sooner he's gone, the better. And then the last negative I really had with this episode was some of the logic really didn't make sense, and some scenes just felt a little bit strange, to me at least. The two I've mentioned here are the scene where Team Arrow leaves Vigilante to get tortured. This was mainly when Oliver and Diggle were like, oh, it's so when Vigilante's getting tortured by the criminal cabal because they figure out that he is a traitor. Oliver and Diggle are like, no, it's alright, he can handle it because he's got accelerated healing. I don't think they understand the whole concept of when you have so much pain and torture done to you, you will still go into shock and you might die. Like, that was just a really dumb scene to me. That was really, really dumb. I mean, surely if Diggle has worked in the army, he would know that shit already, but for some reason, the writers completely forgot to write that in, so that was a bit stupid. And then the second one I had here was the whole hostage situation. So Anatoly had rigged some hostages to stop Green Arrow from getting to the hydrothermic bomb that Cayden James has. He tied all these hostages to these bombs that was on a 3 to 4 minute timer. It was never addressed what happened to those people. All we saw really was Green Arrow got an EMP arrow, I think, and shut off the radio between him and Anatoly. But they never showed what happened to those people. We never got confirmation of what happened. I mean, I assume that they maybe made it out, but the episode never told us. So that was very strange to me, just how they completely left that unanswered. It was very, very strange. Other than those few negatives, I really didn't have a lot wrong with this episode. I thought this was quite a good episode of Arrow. Like I said, definitely the best episode of this half of the season. Very, very enjoyable in my opinion. A lot to like about it. I just like how it further advanced the story, because this, like I said, is what episode 11 for me should have been more like, where it's progressing the story along more, not feeling like filler. And so for that reason, for my final verdict for this episode, I'm going to give the episode an 8.5 out of 10. Like I said, it is, for me, the best episode of this half of the season. It's not a great episode, only because, like I said, I still had a few problems with it, but other than that, I still think this is a very good episode. I'm definitely interested to see where they go in episode 13, because, like I said, I believe that's the episode where Cayden James is finally going to die, and Ricardo Diaz is going to take over as the leader of the criminal cabal. I'm very interested for that episode. I might even do an episode preview for that if I feel like it, because I'm very excited for it. That is it for my review on this episode of Arrow. Of course, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about this episode, and do you think Cayden James is going to die at the end of next week's episode? Let me know about that down below. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and I hope to see you again next time.